The first wave. Humanity's worst fears materialized on the crimson dunes of Aurora Colony. The first wave of Shrek, hunter-killer robots, descended with a chilling precision. Their metal bodies glinted ominously under the harsh light of Aurora's twin moons, each step reverberating like a death knell across the battlefield. Corporal Jim Wallace's gaze was steely as he watched the live feed. The Xenos strategy was clear: deploy these monstrous machines to soften Earth's outpost for the forthcoming invasion fleet. What they didn't realize was that humanity's fury burned fiercer than any fire they could imagine. The sky above was choked with the shadow of the Shrek fleet, darkening the heavens as landing pods burst through the atmosphere, unleashing legions of combat bots. Their synchronized march, a grim parade of doom, sent a shiver down Jim's spine. "On your feet, Marines." Jim barked, rallying his troops, his voice cut through the chaos. "Clankers inbound. They're not here for tea." Echo Squad responded instantly, their power suits humming to life. Jim led them into the labyrinthine streets of Aurora, a concrete jungle where danger lurked around every corner. The battle was a cacophony of laser fire and the roar of combat, with dust choking the air as Jim ducked behind a smoldering hover car. "Rogers, left flank," Jim ordered. "McKenna, high ground. Cover us." Echo Squad moved with practiced efficiency, turning the alleys into their personal battlegrounds. They severed robotic limbs and blasted circuits with unerring accuracy. Yet for every bot they destroyed, 10 more seemed to emerge from the smoke and shadows. "We can't keep this up," Rogers shouted, his voice strained. "We're outnumbered." Jim knew Rogers was right. The sheer volume of enemy forces was overwhelming. He made a quick decision, signaling a retreat to their makeshift fortress, their only bastion of hope amidst the encroaching despair. The fortress walls became their entire world, a sanctuary under siege. Robots hammered against the gates like relentless ocean waves crashing against a breakwater. Despite the mounting pressure and mounting casualties, the Marines stood resolute, executing every order with military precision. Inside the command post, Jim watched the unfolding carnage with a sinking feeling. One by one, his comrades fell. An idea sparked in the midst of the chaos. He realized that bullets alone wouldn't turn the tide. They needed a different strategy. "I need a bot alive," Jim shouted through the din. "We're taking one down intact." Confusion rippled through the ranks, followed by a quick decision to act. The Marines improvised, setting up an electromagnetic trap to lure a bot into their clutches. It was a desperate gamble, but it was their only shot at victory. The trap worked. The robot twitched and seized up as the current surged through its advanced frame. With weapons at the ready, the Marines surrounded it, their faces etched with grim determination. Jim inspected the dormant robot, sweat beading on his forehead. "Secure it," he ordered. "Get the eggheads here now. We've got work to do." The mood was tense, but the Marines' resolve was unshaken. They understood the gravity of their situation and the significance of their gamble. Humanity's resilience was a flickering flame in the encroaching night. As Jim scanned the battlefield through his binoculars, the once peaceful streets of Aurora were now a graveyard of metal husks and the scars of war. The silence was deceptive, a brief pause before the next storm. "Echo Squad, on me," Jim whispered into his comms, rallying his team. In the distance, a hulking Shrek war robot patrolled the blockade, its guns searching mechanically for threats. "You sure about this, Jim?" McKenna's voice crackled with doubt. "I mean, a live one." "We're beyond sure, Mac," Jim replied firmly. "We're desperate." With a hand signal, Jim directed Rogers and Ellis to sprint between ruined buildings, their movements precise and lethal. The Shrek had come to erase Aurora Colony, but Echo Squad had other plans. A flash split the violet sky as an RPG screamed forth, blowing the robot's legs apart in a shower of sparks and molten metal. The delayed thunderclap followed, breaking the silence. "Go," Jim yelled over the ringing in his ears. The squad swarmed the crippled robot, tangling its guns and sticking grenades to its vital points. Small explosions severed its weapons, and together they dragged the massive machine back to base. The metal gates slammed shut behind them, providing a brief respite from the relentless assault. Jim radioed Hannah, their tech specialist. "Show our guests some hospitality," he ordered. Hannah appeared, her grin growing feral at the sight of the robot. Her nimble fingers flew over the metal, working her magic in the cramped room. Hours passed in intense silence, faces glistening with sweat and grime. Finally, Hannah rose triumphantly. "Decentralized networks," she announced. "No direct control. I can hack it." Jim's eyes locked onto hers, willing her words to be true. This was their chance to turn the tide and give humanity a fighting chance. "Give me a second," Jim said, meeting their eyes with a steely resolve. "We need to infiltrate their mothership and disable the army of the Source. It's suicide, but if it saves Earth, who's with me?" The room fell silent for a moment, the gravity of their mission settling over them. Then, hands rose in defiance, soldiers stepping forward for their last stand. They were humanity, and they had other plans. The bold infiltration. The reek of burned wires still hung in the air as Echo Squad slipped through the gaping doors of the colossal Shrek mothership. The massive vessel loomed over Aurora like a dark shadow, its presence a symbol of the enemy's overwhelming power. The squad's covered shuttle, a sleek and stealthy craft, was tiny in comparison to the towering behemoth of the Shrek ship. "Got the jammer back," Jim whispered urgently. "One wrong move could mean instant death. Jam their signals when we breach." McKenna's fingers danced across her wrist tech with deft precision. The room was tense, the squad's breath shallow as they navigated the twisting corridors of the alien ship. Each turn brought them closer to their goal, and each step echoed with the weight of their mission. The ship's interior was a maze of alien glyphs and cold metal, a labyrinth designed to disorient and trap intruders. Despite their careful preparations, an alarm blared suddenly, slicing through the silence like a blade. Their cover was blown. "Move," Jim shouted, his voice cutting through the panic. The team sprinted down the narrow halls, their footsteps pounding against the metal floors as the blaring alarm became a deafening roar. Behind them, the Shrek forces mobilized, their mechanical limbs whirring ominously. As they fled, scorching blasts of energy seared the walls around them. Jim ducked into a side corridor, the team following suit. The chaos of their retreat was matched only by the fury of the enemy forces. The Shrek had bred their robots for war, and they responded to the intrusion with unrelenting aggression. "Stay sharp," Jim called out. "Rogers, Ellis, cover our rear." Rogers fired his pulse rifle with grim determination, dropping a pursuing guard. Ellis threw up a shield, deflecting the enemy's energy bolts. The team's synchronized movements were a testament to their training and unity, but even they struggled against the relentless tide of Shrek forces. Their path led them to the mainframe room, the heart of the enemy's network. The door loomed ahead, wreathed in an eerie cold light. Inside, Hannah's skills were put to the ultimate test. The room was filled with alien computers, their screens glowing with incomprehensible data. Hannah's fingers flew across the floating interfaces, her supernatural intuition guiding her. "I'm in," she announced, targeting the network's heart now. Jim stood guard, his rifle ready as metallic pounding thundered at the door. The Shrek were closing in, their heavy footsteps a grim reminder of the danger. Jim braced himself, powered armor enhancing his strength as he prepared for the inevitable clash. The door buckled as Shrek guards breached it. Jim's rifle barked desperately. Each shot a burst of defiance against the overwhelming enemy. The room was a whirlwind of action, Jim moving on instinct, a conduit of raw will and determination. Suddenly, a deep silence fell over the room. The Shrek elite forces, clad in abyssal armor, entered with palpable malice. They were unyielding, a stark contrast to the battered human defenders. "Upload complete," Hannah shouted, her voice a mix of relief and exhaustion. but red lights pulsed ominously, indicating that the Shrek were regrouping. "We did what we came for. Now let's get out." Jim's voice rang out with fierce resolve. "On your feet. We're not done yet." He and his team hurled themselves into the fray once more, their bodies aching but their spirits unbroken. The battle was far from over, but they had made a crucial step towards victory. With the Shrek forces closing in, the squad fought their way back through the ship's twisting corridors. Each step was a testament to their grit and determination. Jim led the way, his muscles burning with exertion, as the team battled their way through the dark guts of the enemy vessel. Blaster shots rang out around them, the staccato beat of war drums filling the air. Jim barked orders, his voice raw and smoky from the strain. The squad moved as one, their resolve unwavering even as their numbers dwindled. The hangar loomed ahead, a vast expanse filled with the madness of war. The team's shuttle, their lifeline, was within sight, but enemy fire rained down, a final obstacle between them and escape. Jim's heart pounded as he shielded Hannah, his body taking the brunt of the attacks. Each step was a struggle, his suit flickering and dying as energy drained away. But he pressed on, driven by the knowledge that their survival hinged on this moment. Finally, they'd reached the shuttle's ramp. Hannah leaped aboard, turning to offer her hand. Their eyes met, a silent exchange of fear and hope. Despite his battered state, Jim dove aboard, the engines roaring to life as the shuttle prepared for launch. The Shrek mothership's guns awoke, sending a barrage of fire after them. Metal screamed as they shot into space, the enemy's wrath a furious storm behind them. Jim slumped in his seat, his body aching, but his eyes shone with triumph. "We did it," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the roaring engines. Hannah took over the controls, guiding them through the cold, vast expanse of space. Humanity's fire burned bright against the odds, and they had carried the torch into the abyss, emerging unbroken. As darkness threatened to overtake him, Jim's consciousness waned. The harsh antiseptic smell of the hospital greeted him as he awoke, his body battered and broken, but his spirit unyielding. Whispers of his heroism floated around him, but Jim wanted none of it. He had survived, and that was enough. A fragile victory. The sterile lights of the hospital room buzzed softly, casting a harsh glare over Jim's bandaged form. Each breath he took was a painful reminder of the battle he had fought. As he lay in the bed, the whispers of his heroism from the outside world seemed distant, irrelevant to the man who had barely survived. The room was quiet except for the rhythmic beeping of medical monitors and the occasional shuffle of nurses outside. Jim's thoughts wandered back to the mission, replaying each moment of their daring escape. His mind was still caught in the chaos of the Shrek mothership, the weight of their victory pressing heavily upon him. A gentle knock at the door broke the silence. The door opened to reveal a weary but determined face. It was Hannah, her eyes reflecting the exhaustion of their ordeal, but also a fierce, unyielding fire. "How are you holding up?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with concern. Jim offered a weak smile. "Been better," he replied, his voice raspy. "How's everyone else?" Hannah's expression tightened slightly. "We lost some good people, but we made it. The virus you helped us upload has caused massive disruptions in the Shrek forces. They're in disarray, and it's giving us a fighting chance." Jim nodded, his heart heavy with the knowledge of their fallen comrades. "What's next for us? What do we do now?" Hannah hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor. "We regroup, reassess, and prepare for the next phase. The Shrek aren't finished, and neither are we. But we've given Earth a chance to recover and reorganize." Jim's mind raced with thoughts of the future. He knew that the war was far from over. The Shrek would regroup, and they would need to be ready for the next assault. But for now, the immediate battle was won, and that was something to hold on to. Days turned into weeks as Jim's recovery progressed. The hospital was a hub of activity, with soldiers and scientists working tirelessly to understand the full impact of their mission. Reports came in of Shrike units being thrown into chaos, and Earth's defenses were being bolstered. Despite the slow progress, Jim's spirits lifted with each passing day. He began to receive visitors, fellow Marines, scientists, and even high-ranking officials. Each visit was a reminder of the broader impact of their actions and the sacrifices made. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the hospital grounds, Jim was visited by General Cortez, a stern but respected leader. Cortez was known for his strategic mind and unwavering resolve, and his presence was both a comfort and a reminder of the gravity of their situation. "Corporal Wallace," Cortez began, his voice carrying the weight of authority, "your bravery and leadership have made a significant difference. The data we've gathered from the Shrike mothership has given us invaluable insights into their technology and tactics." Jim listened intently, his curiosity piqued. "What does that mean for us?" Cortez's expression was grave. "It means we have a chance to turn the tide. With the information we've obtained, we're developing countermeasures and strategies to effectively combat the Shrike. But it's going to take time, resources, and more sacrifices." Jim nodded, understanding the magnitude of the challenge ahead. "What can I do to help?" "Your role will be crucial," Cortez said, his gaze steady. "We need experienced leaders like you to help train new recruits and prepare them for the battles to come. Your experience is invaluable." Jim accepted the responsibility with a sense of resolve. He knew that while his role had changed from frontline combatant to trainer, his mission was far from over. The fight for humanity's survival would continue, and he would be ready. As the days turned into months, Jim threw himself into his new role with the same intensity and dedication he had shown on the battlefield. Training new recruits became his focus, sharing his experiences and knowledge with the next generation of soldiers. The stakes were higher than ever, and the pressure to prepare them for the coming battles weighed heavily on him. Hannah remained a close ally, her technical expertise proving invaluable as they worked together to develop new technologies and strategies. Their partnership, forged in the fires of conflict, grew stronger as they faced the future with a shared determination. One evening, as Jim and Hannah reviewed the latest developments in their lab, she looked up from her workstation with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Jim," she said, "I think we've underestimated ourselves. We've faced unimaginable odds and come through stronger. Whatever the Shrike throw at us next, we'll face it together." Jim smiled, the warmth of her words a stark contrast to the cold reality of their situation. "Agreed. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we've shown that humanity can stand up to anything." Their gaze met, both recognizing the gravity of their mission, but also the strength they had discovered within themselves. As they continued their preparations, the hope for a brighter future grew stronger. The Shrike threat was still looming, but humanity's response had proven that even in the darkest moments, there was a spark of defiance and resilience that could not be extinguished. Jim and his team stood as a testament to that spirit, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. The rising storm. The weeks following the mission were filled with relentless activity. The Earth's defense networks buzzed with the latest information and strategies. Jim, now fully immersed in his role as a mentor and trainer, found himself constantly on the move, preparing the next generation for the battles to come. The pressure was immense, but the weight of their past victories fueled their determination. Training sessions were intense. Jim pushed the recruits to their limits, ensuring they understood the gravity of the war they were about to face. The new recruits came from all walks of life, their faces a blend of eagerness, fear, and determination. Jim saw in them the same fiery spirit that had driven him and his team through their darkest moments. One afternoon, as Jim reviewed tactical simulations with his squad, the room was suddenly filled with a tense buzz. An urgent announcement crackled over the intercom, drawing everyone's attention. "Attention all personnel. We have detected unusual activity near the Earth's outer perimeter. Prepare for immediate briefing." Jim's heart raced. The Shrike had been silent for a while, And this sudden alert could only mean one thing: the enemy was preparing for another assault. He quickly gathered his squad, their faces mirroring his concern. In the briefing room, General Cortez stood at the head of the table, his stern expression conveying the seriousness of the situation. Maps and holographic displays illuminated the room, showing a swirling mass of ships approaching the Earth's orbit. "We've detected a large Shrek fleet assembling just beyond our defense range," Cortez began, his voice steady but urgent. "They're preparing for a major offensive. Our previous actions have disrupted their plans, but they've regrouped and are now aiming to strike us with full force." Jim's mind raced as he absorbed the information. The Shrek were not going to relent. They were coming back stronger, and humanity needed to be ready. He glanced at Hannah, who stood beside him, her face etched with determination. "We need to act fast," Cortez continued. "Our current defenses are holding, but this new fleet could overwhelm us if we don't mobilize quickly. We're launching Operation Shieldbreaker, a comprehensive counteroffensive to repel the Shrek and push them back from our perimeter." The room was filled with a collective murmur of agreement and concern. Jim knew that this operation would be critical, and the stakes had never been higher. He turned to his squad, preparing them for the coming battle. "Listen up," Jim said, his voice firm and commanding. "We're facing the Shrek again, and this time they're coming in full force. Our mission is to protect our world and push them back. We've faced worse before, and we'll face it again with the same grit and determination. Stay sharp and follow orders. We've got this." The preparations for Operation Shieldbreaker were swift and meticulous. Soldiers and engineers worked around the clock, fortifying defenses, upgrading weaponry, and fine-tuning strategies. Jim's training sessions became more focused, honing the recruits' skills and boosting their morale. As the fleet of Shrek ships edged closer to Earth, the atmosphere became charged with anticipation and anxiety. The defense stations around the planet were on high alert, their sensors tracking every movement of the approaching enemy. On the day of the offensive, Jim and his team took their positions. The sky was a dark, ominous expanse as the Shrek fleet appeared on the horizon. The first wave of enemy ships emerged, their massive forms casting shadows over the Earth's surface. The sheer scale of the invasion was daunting, but Jim's resolve was unwavering. The battle began with a thunderous roar. Ships clashed in the void, laser beams streaking across the sky, and explosions lighting up the dark expanse. The defense stations fired relentlessly, their powerful guns tearing through the enemy ranks. Jim's squad was deployed to key positions, providing support and engaging in fierce combat with the Shrek forces. In the heat of battle, Jim's tactical instincts kicked in. He moved with precision, coordinating attacks and ensuring that his team remained focused. The Shrek were relentless, their advanced technology challenging the human defenses. But humanity's response was fierce, and each victory, no matter how small, bolstered their spirits. The battle raged on for hours, with neither side willing to give an inch. The Shrek fleet seemed endless, and the human forces were pushed to their limits. Jim's squad fought valiantly, their courage shining through despite the overwhelming odds. As the day drew to a close, the tide began to turn. The coordinated efforts of the human forces started to make a significant impact. The Shrek fleet, though still formidable, was showing signs of strain. The human defenses held strong, and the relentless assault from the Earth's forces began to push the enemy back. Jim could feel the exhaustion settling in, but he refused to relent. Every time he saw a Shrek ship fall or an enemy unit retreat, it was a testament to their resilience and determination. The battle was far from over, but humanity had shown its strength once again. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, casting a new light on the battlefield, the Shrek fleet began to retreat. The once ominous shadows of their ships started to fade, replaced by the triumphant cheers of the human forces. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Jim and his team stood amidst the wreckage, their faces marked by exhaustion, but also by the fierce pride of their victory. They had faced the storm and emerged victorious, but they knew that the Shrek would return. Humanity's fight for survival was ongoing, and they would be ready for whatever came next. Echoes of victory. The aftermath of Operation Shieldbreaker was both a celebration and a sobering reminder of the ongoing struggle. Earth's defense forces had scored a significant victory, but the cost of the battle weighed heavily on everyone. The shattered remains of Shrek ships floated in the void, and the scars of the conflict marked the surface of the planet. Yet, amidst the rubble and debris, there was a renewed sense of hope and unity. Jim and his team returned to their base, greeted by a mixture of cheers and solemnity. The victory had come at a high price, and many of their comrades had paid the ultimate sacrifice. The base was alive with activity as medics attended to the wounded, engineers repaired equipment, and strategists began planning the next steps. The atmosphere was a blend of relief and resolve. Jim found himself at the center of attention, his role as a leader now more critical than ever. The soldiers looked up to him for guidance, and he knew that he had to be a pillar of strength in these challenging times. He took a moment to survey the damage and assess the state of his squad. Each member bore the marks of the battle, but their spirits remained unbroken. In the command center, General Cortez convened a meeting with key officers, including Jim and his closest allies. The room was filled with a mixture of fatigue and determination as they reviewed the results of the recent battle and discussed the future course of action. Operation Shieldbreaker was a success. Cortez began, his voice carrying the weight of authority. We managed to repel the Shrek fleet and protect our world from immediate danger. However, we cannot afford to rest on our laurels. The Shrek will regroup and strike again. We need to prepare for the next wave. Jim nodded in agreement. We've shown that we can hold our own against their advanced technology, but we need to stay vigilant. Our defenses need to be strengthened and our strategies refined. We've seen the enemy's tactics, and we must adapt accordingly. Cortez's gaze shifted to a series of holographic displays, showing the movements and patterns of the Shrek forces. Our intelligence indicates that the Shrek are regrouping and likely planning another offensive. We need to disrupt their plans and keep them on the defensive. Our next mission will be to strike at their supply lines and weaken their capacity to wage war. The room buzzed with activity as officers and strategists began formulating plans. Jim's thoughts were already racing ahead, considering the logistics and potential challenges of the upcoming mission. He knew that their victory was a temporary reprieve, and the real test would be maintaining their momentum and ensuring their readiness for future battles. As the meeting concluded, Jim took a moment to reflect on the personal cost of the conflict. The faces of fallen comrades haunted him, their sacrifices a stark reminder of the harsh realities of war. He made his way to the memorial wall, a place where the names of the lost were etched in solemn tribute. He stood in silence, paying his respects and drawing strength from their memory. The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation and planning. Jim's squad underwent rigorous training exercises, refining their tactics and adapting to new challenges. They worked closely with engineers and scientists to develop countermeasures against the Shrek's advanced technology. The base was a hive of activity, with every resource dedicated to ensuring their readiness. Jim's leadership was put to the test as he navigated the complexities of coordinating with various units and maintaining morale. He held briefings, conducted drills, and provided support to his team. His presence was a source of inspiration, a constant reminder that they were not alone in their fight. One evening, as Jim reviewed the latest reports in his quarters, he received a message from Hannah. Her note was brief but filled with optimism. She had made significant progress in developing new technologies that could potentially turn the tide of the war. Jim's spirits lifted as he read her update, knowing that innovation would be a key factor in their continued success. The next mission, dubbed Operation Shadow Strike, was designed to target the Shrek's supply lines and infrastructure. It was a daring plan that required precision and coordination. Jim's squad was tasked with infiltrating enemy territory and disabling key installations. The operation was fraught with danger, but it was a crucial step in disrupting the Shrak's war effort. As the mission began, Jim and his team embarked on a covert operation deep into enemy territory. The terrain was harsh and unforgiving, a labyrinth of alien structures and hostile forces. They moved with stealth and purpose, their every step calculated to avoid detection. The operation was a success, but not without its share of challenges. The squad faced fierce resistance from Shrak patrols and encountered unexpected obstacles. Jim's leadership and tactical acumen were put to the test as he navigated the perilous landscape, ensuring that the mission objectives were achieved. In the end, Operation Shadow Strike dealt a significant blow to the Shrak's war machine. The disruption of their supply lines created chaos within their ranks and provided a much-needed advantage to the human forces. The victory was a testament to their resilience and ingenuity. As Jim returned to base, the sense of accomplishment was palpable. The team had once again proven their mettle and demonstrated their ability to overcome formidable challenges. The battle for Earth was far from over, but each victory brought them closer to securing a lasting peace. The echoes of their success resonated throughout the base, a reminder that humanity's spirit was unbreakable. Jim's resolve remained steadfast as he prepared for the next phase of the conflict. The fight was far from over, but with each step, they moved closer to achieving their ultimate goal: the calm before the storm. With the success of Operation Shadow Strike, the human forces gained a critical advantage, but the respite was fleeting. The Shrak, though disoriented and weakened, were far from defeated. The period following the operation was marked by an uneasy calm, as both sides regrouped and prepared for the next clash. This lull was deceptive, a quiet before the inevitable storm of renewed conflict. Jim's team, exhausted but victorious, took the opportunity to rest and recover. The base, though still buzzing with activity, had a quieter, more reflective atmosphere. Soldiers and engineers alike took stock of their achievements and losses, working diligently to repair and upgrade their equipment. The mood was a mixture of relief and determination, knowing that their efforts had made a significant impact, but that the war was far from over. Jim found himself increasingly involved in strategic meetings and planning sessions. The success of their recent missions had made him a key figure in shaping the future course of the war. He worked closely with General Cortez and other top strategists to develop plans for the upcoming offensive. The Shrak's next move was unpredictable, and it was crucial to anticipate their strategies and counter them effectively. In these meetings, the focus was on the intelligence gathered from recent operations. Analysts pored over data and reports, trying to piece together the Shrak's plans and movements. The information was often fragmented and uncertain, but it was their best hope for understanding the enemy's intentions. One evening, as Jim reviewed the latest intelligence reports, Hannah approached him with an update. Her team had been working on a new technology designed to enhance human weaponry and defensive systems. The advancements were promising, and Hannah was eager to demonstrate the results. "Jim, you need to see this," Hannah said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "We've made some significant breakthroughs. This could change the game for us." Jim followed Hannah to the research lab, where a new prototype was on display. The device was a sleek, high-tech piece of equipment that promised to improve the efficiency and power of human weaponry. Hannah explained its features and demonstrated its capabilities, showcasing its potential impact on their combat effectiveness. The technology was impressive, and Jim could see how it could give them an edge in future battles. "This could be exactly what we need," he said, nodding appreciatively. "We'll integrate it into our arsenal and see how it performs in the field." As preparations continued, Jim and his squad trained with the new equipment, familiarizing themselves with its functions and capabilities. The integration of advanced technology into their operations was a significant boost, but it also came with its own set of challenges. The squad had to adapt quickly, and Jim was determined to ensure that everyone was proficient with the new tools. During this period, Jim also took time to connect with his team on a personal level. The war had taken a toll on everyone, and maintaining morale was as important as preparing for battle. He held informal gatherings and encouraged open discussions, allowing his team to voice their concerns and find solace in shared experiences. The base's social areas became a haven for relaxation and camaraderie. Soldiers gathered to share stories, play games, and support each other through the emotional strains of war. These moments of connection were crucial in maintaining the team's spirit and resilience. As the days passed, the Shrek began to mobilize once again. The calm that had settled over the conflict was shattered by the arrival of new intelligence reports, indicating that the enemy was preparing for a major offensive. The Shrek's response to their recent setbacks was swift and decisive, and it was clear that they were not willing to concede defeat easily. Jim and his team were briefed on the new developments, and the urgency of their next mission became apparent. The Shrek were assembling a massive fleet, and their target was Earth's remaining defensive infrastructure. The upcoming battle would be a test of their preparedness and resolve. The planning for the new offensive was meticulous and intense. Jim's team was assigned a critical role in the operation, tasked with infiltrating and disabling key Shrek command centers. The goal was to disrupt the enemy's coordination and prevent them from launching a coordinated attack. As the final preparations were made, Jim took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. The war had been brutal and unforgiving, but it had also revealed the strength and determination of humanity. Each victory was hard-earned, and each setback was met with renewed resolve. The stage was set for the next phase of the conflict. Jim and his squad were ready to face the Shrek once more, equipped with new technology and driven by a fierce determination to protect their home. The battle would be fierce and challenging, but they were prepared to fight with every ounce of their strength. As they prepared to deploy, Jim gathered his squad for a final briefing. "We've come a long way, and we faced incredible challenges," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "The Shrek are formidable, but we've proven that we can overcome them. This next mission is crucial. We need to be sharp, stay focused, and work together. We fight for our planet, for our people, and for each other. Let's show them what humanity is capable of." The squad nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the resolve and determination that had carried them through so many trials. With their mission set and their spirits high, they prepared to face the Shrek once again, ready to fight for their survival and their future. The final confrontation. The anticipation was palpable as Jim and his squad prepared for their most critical mission yet. The enemy's buildup had been detected, and the urgency of their task could not be overstated. The Shrek were gearing up for a decisive assault, and it was imperative that Jim's team disrupt their plans and prevent a catastrophe. The base was a hive of activity as troops and equipment were readied for deployment. Jim's squad, equipped with the latest technology and reinvigorated by recent victories, moved with a mix of steely determination and anxious anticipation. They knew that the upcoming battle would test their limits, but their resolve was unwavering. The mission was set: infiltrate the Shrek command centers, sever their communication lines, and create chaos within their ranks. Success would not only hinder the enemy's coordination, but also provide a crucial window for Earth's defenses to mount a counter-offensive. The team boarded their stealth shuttle, its sleek design a testament to the advanced technology that had become their lifeline. The shuttle's engines hummed quietly as they ascended into the night sky, leaving behind the base and the familiar safety of their home. Jim took one last look at Earth, a silent promise to protect it resonating in his heart. The journey to the Shrek command centers was tense but uneventful. The stealth shuttle slipped through the enemy's defenses with practiced ease, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it nearly invisible to the Shrek sensors. As they approached their target, Jim's team prepared for the final stage of their mission. The shuttle touched down silently on the outskirts of the enemy's stronghold. Jim and his squad disembarked, moving with purpose through the alien landscape. The terrain was harsh and unfamiliar, a stark contrast to the landscapes they had defended on Earth. The alien architecture loomed overhead, a constant reminder of the enemy they faced. Navigating through the labyrinthine corridors of the Shrek Command Center was a daunting task. The team moved cautiously, their advanced technology aiding in evasion and stealth. Jim's leadership was crucial in coordinating their efforts, ensuring that every step was calculated and precise. Their first objective was to locate and disable the primary communication hub. This would disrupt the Shrek's ability to coordinate their forces and create confusion within their ranks. The communication hub was heavily guarded, and the team had to employ every ounce of their training and ingenuity to breach its defenses. As they approached the hub, Jim's team encountered resistance. Shrek forces, alerted by the disruption caused by earlier operations, were on high alert. The corridors echoed with the sounds of battle as the squad engaged in intense combat with enemy troops. Jim's squad fought with skill and determination, their new technology providing a significant advantage. Despite the fierce opposition, the team managed to breach the communication hub. Hannah's expertise was crucial as she worked swiftly to deploy a virus that would cripple the Shrek's communication networks. The process was tense and fraught with danger, but Hannah's hands moved with practiced precision, and the virus began to spread through the enemy systems. With the communication hub compromised, Jim's squad moved to their secondary objective, sabotaging the Shrek's power sources. This would further destabilize their operations and hinder their ability to launch a coordinated attack. The team's progress was marked by a series of daring maneuvers and intense firefights, each step bringing them closer to their goal. The final phase of the mission involved a daring escape from the Shrek Command Center. With their objectives accomplished, Jim's squad had to navigate back through the alien stronghold, avoiding or neutralizing any remaining threats. The tension was palpable as they made their way to the extraction point, every moment fraught with the possibility of discovery. As they reached the shuttle, the team was met with a final surge of Shrek forces. The battle to reach the shuttle was fierce, with Jim and his squad fighting their way through the enemy ranks. Despite the exhaustion and injuries, their resolve remained unbroken. They managed to board the shuttle and make their escape just as the Shrek forces closed in. The shuttle's engines roared to life, and the team took one last look at the Shrek Command Center as it receded into the distance. Their mission had been a success, but the war was far from over. The disruption they had caused would provide a critical advantage, but the Shrek were a resilient and determined enemy. As they made their way back to Earth, Jim and his squad took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had faced incredible challenges and endured great hardships, but their determination and ingenuity had carried them through. The battle had been fierce, but their spirit remained unbroken. Upon returning to Earth, Jim and his squad were greeted with a mixture of relief and anticipation. The disruption caused by their mission had given Earth's defenses a crucial window of opportunity. The coming days would see a renewed effort to drive back the Shrek and reclaim lost ground. Jim looked around at his squad, his heart swelling with pride. They had faced the darkest of odds and emerged victorious. The war was far from over, but humanity's spirit and resilience had been proven once again. As they prepared for the next phase of the conflict, Jim knew that they would continue to fight with unwavering determination, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the weight of their recent victories and the promise of future battles, Jim and his team stood ready to defend their world and protect their people. The struggle was ongoing, but their resolve was stronger than ever. Together, they would continue to fight for their home and for each other, driven by the unyielding spirit of humanity.